this is Amy from Amy's Free Motion Quilting Adventures. You can also find my website at amysquiltingadventures.com. And I've been working on a baby quilt for my brand new little niece. And someone has asked to see how I do the filler design I'm using on it. So I've got some dark fabric, some light thread, so you should be able to see what I'm doing, because the baby quilt, it's patterned. You can't really see the design very well. And the first thing you're going to notice is I have this big thick foot on here, and if you're not familiar with my work, this is a ruler toe, and that is so I can use a long arm ruler to guide my stitching when I quilt, and I do that a lot. I even have a craftsy class called Quilting with Rulers on a home machine, and where I show how to quilt with rulers. This is not a ruler work design, but I happen to have that foot on my machine, and I didn't want to take it off. So that's why that's on there. It hampers the visibility a little bit, but I think you will see what I'm doing. I'm used to it. So the design just starts off with a paisley center, and I can do 1 or 2 rounds. Sometimes it depends on how I want to change directions, and then it's just a feather. And so it's just kind of a feather flower. I don't really have a special name for it. And on the baby quilt, I do it in a more dense design. So I'm lowering my foot down. This is a hopping style, or a non-hopping style foot. So it just floats over the top of the quilt. You want to make sure it's down low enough. Just lowered that down a little bit. Now I've gone all the way around that paisley center, and if I wanted to, I could echo around, but I'm not doing that. If you're doing a full quilt with this design, you may find yourself echoing just to travel. So here's another one of those paisleys. And right now, I want to finish over on this side, so I'm fine. I'll just go around here and I'll finish over on this side. After I show you the second one, I'll show you a few things about directionality of this design. Because when you choose a design, you really need to know how to work out, and I'm right on the edge of my fabric sample here. Let me get my fingers right there. You need to know how you're going to travel around your project. Okay? So there's another one. That's right where I hung up on the edge of my sample, right there. So coming out. Now for my next paisley, I want to finish up on this side. Not on this side, because here's the edge of my fabric. So if I'm going to continue like I've been doing with 2 loops, I need to come out and do a loop this way, back, and then feather this way. If I happen to come out with my paisley and come over here, when I come to do my second loop, I'm going to end up on this side. So what I could do is do a 3rd loop if I happen to do my paisley in the wrong direction. But I'm going to just do that paisley going to the right. So I can come over here to the left. And do my feather flower petals. Boom. Done there. I'm going to come out. Now, I need to get back over here a little bit, over this way, to fill this in a little bit. So I'm going to finish this next one so I end over here, which means I want to come over, paisley, back around, and just looping that feather, plume, kind of flower petal thing. And it gets a little awkward when you get over the hump of the paisley, like halfway through. If you're used to doing traditional feathers, you're kind of like, what direction? Do I change direction? I don't change direction. It just gets a little wonky, I guess. But wonky's fine. Alright, so now I'm over here, and I want to fill this in, but I want to end over here. So I'm just going to bring that petal, that paisley part, not the petal, the paisley part, kind of over this direction. But I'm going to end over here, and that will help me reach over towards the corner. Again, I want to end over here, so I'm going to start my paisley by going over to the right. To the right, to the left, reach that feather petal out. Remember, when you're whipping out feathers, you can get your stitch length a little long. So you may need to slow your hands down or speed up your machine. Either way is good, and I'm right on that edge again. It's getting a little hung up. I'm going to get my fingers just so. There we go. Now, there's only this much space here, so I've got to decide, do I want to go ahead and start my next paisley here, or do I want to go ahead and do a feather? And it's kind of hard to decide. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to reach over this way and do a smaller feather plume just right there, and it's actually going towards this one, and that just kind of fills in that blank spot, and then I can do my next paisley. You see I'm along this edge, so I want to end over to the right. So I'm going to come out to the right, to the left, and I'm really close to this edge, so I'm actually just going to paisley again, and I'm going to move on and just leave that paisley there, because to do feathers off this edge, I'm just going to get hung up. So now this time, again, I want to end over to the right. So I'm going to start to the right. Okay. And coming back out. I want to finish to the right because I'm just kind of working around this square. Remember, if you're just doing 2 loops of your paisley, you want to start your paisley in the direction you want to finish. If you're doing 3 loops of your paisley, you want to start in the opposite direction of where you want to finish. Whee! Pushed down a little too hard on my foot pedal. Let's slow that down a little bit. And you see my stitches are still pretty consistent, even though I got a little fast. So let's do the 3 petal just so you can see that when you start in one direction, you're going to finish in the other when you do 3. And I do think 3 gives it a little bit more of a defined center. So I want to finish up over here. So I'm going to bring my paisley out, and I'm starting by going to the right. Pretty close to that edge again, so I'm just going to get my thumbs down here to kind of help brace that edge. And I'm kind of reaching over here just to kind of fill in this area. just going to finish off with just a little curly Q just for the heck of it. Curly Qs are always nice to stick in when you're doing a design and you need to fill in something. You could also fill in if you had extra spaces with just a random feather plume. So anyway, that is this feather flower. And come to the blog. That is at www.freemotionquiltingadventures.com, and check out the finished project. I'll show you the baby quilt. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.